Douglas, can you hear me?
Yes.
There you go. I have to make you host so you can do the stream.
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, it's all you.
You
I'll-
made Alicia the host.
I did. Oh,
Yeah.
let me see. Hi, Alicia.
Her otter. So we have to.
Oh, sugar. Um, let's close this and start again.
Yeah, I don't know that may not work, but we could try. Hopefully
Okay.
it does.
Okay. So
If it's still no, there you go. You're back. Yeah, you got the host. So just make sure you click my name, please. There you go. Perfect. All right. I was worried there for a second, but I figured we would go a different route if needed. It was only for the Zoom. We could always still broadcast. We just have to get the TDC members, but we're good now. Okay. Today's discussion is on what? Ask me anything about funding, I think. You're on mute right now. You're still on mute. Make co-host. And we're going to publish this into. Okay.
topic is in your chat.
All right. I saw an email go out that said like ask me anything, or it's not like that. Is it a
I
Q&A
saw that
style?
as well. Yeah, I saw that as well.
Okay.
So I guess it's both. But I'll keep an eye on Facebook with any questions.
Okay. All right, cool. We're going to go ahead and get this broadcast started. All right. Happy Friday, everybody. We got lots of blue going on today. So I got my blue shirt, and you can't see, but I got some powder blue shorts on. And we got some blue walls and stuff. So blue, lots of blue like the ocean. But looking forward to the weekend and lots of time with family and friends. Hopefully you guys are having an awesome week. It's been a busy week for us as well over here. Today we're going to be talking about really whatever questions you guys have, but specifically on the funding sort of dialogue or topic. Just because we get a lot of questions inside the Growth Collective, our private coaching and mastermind group. We also get questions in this group here about funding deals and leveraging OPM. We've done trainings about it. So today's not going to be like a training with my screen share. It's going to be just a conversation. So if you guys have questions about that, if you have an issue or a topic or a situation that you're trying to figure out, then by all means use the Facebook comment feature to go ahead and put that in there. From the perspective of, why this is important. So, some of you might have capital that you plan on using for real estate, but maybe it's not enough capital, right? Where you don't have enough to do the kind of deals that you really want to do, or you're trying to figure out how to leverage, up and leverage your own capital so that you do more deals. So it could be more of the same, or it could be bigger ones, or it could be just not having to use your own capital, or maybe you don't have capital. So when you're hearing me talk right now, like just give us an idea of where you're sitting, city and state, and also let us know maybe some of your experience with capital or funding. And if you have any particular questions, if you're actively leveraging, OPM as far as private money, hard money, or if you're just a cash buyer, kind of give us an idea if you're comfortable sharing where you're at with things. And then Joe and myself and a couple of team members will be monitoring the Facebook feed to kind of see, who's got questions and who's got things we can cover. I also see Jenny and Glenn are in the Zoom room here with Joe, myself, and also Alicia's otter. So I just saw Jenny and Glenn a little bit ago at another meeting. So they're about to hopefully close their next deal, which is exciting. So congratulations on that. I know it's been a journey the past couple of weeks here, but better for you guys. And I'm sorry I couldn't make it to the other property you guys are going to check out. I just had to take another call with one of our clients, another client in the TGC community. So he's actually working on some deals in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So excited for him as well. All right, Joe, you seen anything inside of Facebook? Are you on there? I'm going to go in there right now myself to see if there's anything we have going on in the chat and the comments.
Not as of yet. We have 7 people that just logged on, so they
Awesome.
make it that 8.
Okay. Cool. So again, for those of you just kind of catching us, live here inside the group, go ahead and use the Facebook comment feature to tell us your city and state of where you're sitting right now, or where you're doing deals. If it's not the same, share that as well. And then also let us know kind of like what questions or items or issues you have about funding that you'd like to discover or talk about today further. And then I'll wait a couple seconds till you kind of gather yourselves and write down those notes, and I'll kind of take a look at some of my notes from the last meeting I was in and see if I have anything I want to share with you guys in the meantime. I mean, there's definitely some topics like as far as, when you get into private money, for example, there's direct lending and then there's broker, type scenarios. And that's on the mortgage side, like traditional residential financing as well as commercial financing. And so if you guys don't know by now, we run a website and a brand within our company called Real Direct Lending. So if you go to realdirectlending.com, that's going to be your gateway to find out how we can help you connect to commercial loan products. Essentially, we are like a VIP concierge service, if you would, not really a broker, because we don't just take your stuff and send it to somebody else. We actually have a handful, and right now it's really one preferred that you'll be hearing more about, that we take your opportunity to fund and bring it there and help you get the best deal that's available in the marketplace. And so those relationships are very important. They're very powerful, very, very key for you to know that you have somebody who can get the deal done. What happens sometimes with private money, especially on I call it like quote unquote institutional private money, whereas like it's a fund or it's money that's been pulled together into a group of investors or a business that then lends out money. Like those kind of groups, a lot of times, they don't have the decision-making ability that you want them to have. They don't have the influence or the decision-making, like I said, for can this deal get done? Can the loan get made? And so really what I realized from working inside of a fund is that having the direct access, right, inside of a fund to capital and knowing the guidelines and knowing the credit guidelines, the renovation guidelines, knowing how the money is deployed and who it's deployed to and what kind of projects and that kind of thing, having that sort of inner circle, inner sphere knowledge of being inside of that is very powerful. So I'm blessed and honored to be able to share that with my network. Within reason, I can't share every single detail, right? But I can help kind of bring a lens of what certain things mean. So, I always kind of pick on this one because some of my broker friends that are in the industry, for whatever reason, and I got nothing but love, I'm trying to help you guys here, but some of the folks out there don't even know the difference between loan to value versus loan to cost. And that just like is a pet peeve for me. So like the value is different than the cost unless you're buying it 100% at the value, which is a different story. And usually that's not the case. If you're an investor, usually looking for an opportunity. So there's loan to value, and then there's loan to after repaired value, like as is value and after repaired value. There's loan to cost. And then there's all these other things like different language almost in the funding space. So maybe you have some questions about that today. Maybe you want to clarify some things about how that all works. Maybe you have a question about the DSCR loan products that are available in the commercial lending space. Or maybe you have a question about, hey, I got this property that is currently X, and I think it could be X plus more. And I need to understand how the funding works so I can make this thing realize its fullest potential, but I don't have all the capital to do that. How could that work? Maybe it's a specific scenario. On that note, and I see her up top there, Wendy's up in Canada and also has her hand raised. Wendy, did you want to kind of open us up with a question you have about funding? And I'll give you a second. I'm also monitoring the Facebook feed here. Go for it, Wendy.
Okay, I had sent something to Candace the other day, and even Rich responded saying I need to have a down payment. That I couldn't get 100% OPM on it. And that's an issue for me. I don't know how you can get 100%. And unfortunately, the bank seems to have misplaced my money. So I couldn't get
Yeah.
my property and it sent out to the lenders up here. But I get, like, people talk a lot about using OPM money and not using anything out of your pocket. But other people, investors looking to buy, especially new ones, they all say, well, that doesn't seem to be true.
Right.
Everybody has trouble.
Okay. Yeah. So if we kind of think of it, so first off, just to paraphrase a little bit what Wendy is saying, and Wendy's one of our Growth Collective members. So thank you, Wendy, for being here. Just a reminder, we're inside of our larger community called the Real Estate Investing Mastermind. So just as you kind of give certain information, feel free to share whatever you feel comfortable sharing, but there's almost 4,000 people in this group that could hear what you're saying, just so you know, and maybe more people that can hear even if they share with their friends. So just a heads up about that, just in case, we get into details. As far as how, this all works. So when you think about OPM, other people's money, there is a type of other people's money that's, like I said before, institutionalized or gathered or collected into usually what are called funds with a D, fund with FUND, right? Funds are essentially designed as either a debt fund or an equity fund. Sometimes there's venture capital funds, private equity funds. There's all kinds of different funds, hedge funds, right? And so they have different purposes. But with the kind of funds that we work with, they're debt funds providing capital, as in debt, to real estate investors, specifically on what's called non-owner occupied real estate. So property that is going to be rented out or renovated and then eventually refinanced and paid off. So that's kind of the backdrop, right? So now the question Wendy has is, Doug, knowing that people are talking about 100% OPM and then knowing what I just said, how does this all work? So with a fund, you see funds, what they do is they take and they make loans to investors like you and me and Joe and Alicia and everyone else watching and listening right now. They make loans. They originate loans. There's also funds, though, that actually buy loans. There's funds that will just take originated loans and buy them and then basically pay that loan back essentially in capital form to the fund that originated it, and then essentially service that loan and take on the responsibility. But a lot of times what they do is they actually take those loans, they package them up, and then they sell them as a package, as like a bond or something like that. So that's important to know, because what is going on is the bond buyer, right? The people all the way at the end and the people in between the bond purchaser and the person that aggregates the loans and then the one that actually makes the loans, that whole supply chain, there's risk tolerances, Wendy. There's risk tolerances, meaning like nobody wants to be 100% funding somebody they never met or have any idea about or have ever seen the property for and that kind of thing. They need certain like mitigation factors. So they usually use like loan to cost and loan to value as the two metrics to mitigate that risk. And so meaning the fund, quote unquote, institutionalized money that's available, private money through like Real Direct Lending and our affiliates, effectively wants to be at 80 to 85% loan to cost. And they want to be at less than 70% loan to ARV. That's the typical current landscape as of June 9th, 2023. And the reason that's important is because that's going to be a portion, to Wendy's point, a portion of what we're going to get as far as OPM. But there's a second part of what I call the capital stack, right? So if you want to think of like the stack of capital, there's like the first position, purchase and renovation money. And then there's going to be beneath that another level if it's your money or someone else's money. We'll get to that in a second, but just keep in mind, this fund is going to provide debt as the first position lender for the majority of the funds you need. And they're going to basically provide that in the form of a loan made to a property, but a commercial loan made to an entity that goes attaching to a property. So that's kind of how that works. But they want to be at a 80 to 85% and no more than 70% so that they can aggregate those loans that are less risky, put them into a bucket, and then sell them as a bond to the market, basically as secure, diversified risk. Okay, that has a return that's pretty good. Whatever that is, depends on what the market's given. But The loan could be originated, for example, at 10 or 12%, but the bond might only be 4 or 6%. So that difference, there's a term in industry called yield spread, for example. Yield spread is a delta between what the loan is made for to what actually the buyer for that loan pays. And then that's a spread that the originator can actually keep and profit from. So the whole nother world, it's a whole nother animal, but we can get into that some other time. Just for today's purpose, or Wendy's asking what some of you might be wondering, how do we accomplish 100% private money? How do we accomplish that, right? And I've covered it a couple different ways, but I want to bring clarity to it today for Wendy and for everybody else. Basically, if we go out there and we get that first position loan from a private lender institution, a non-bank lender that provides commercial loans, then that leaves us with somewhere between 15 to 25% of the money needed to put down. That's where Wendy's saying, well, what about that 20-ish%, right? To accomplish getting that 20%, you have a couple of different options, right? Option one is I could find somebody else. Like, let's say you and me were talking about a deal. You might say, well, Doug, I need 20% down to go buy this investment property that needs 20% so I can go make another 15% on the money for the total project. And I'm willing to share in that participation of what this property can do. And I'm willing to give some of that to you as the investor partner. That's one option. It's like a joint venture equity giving to, partner who brings the 20% down. We call that 20%, 25%, whatever the number ends up being, the gap funds, right? The gap money, the money that's not provided by the main lender. But the down payment and the rest of the gap funds are brought by somebody in this example, and that somebody gets a benefit, either just an upside benefit as the project or property does well, and or they could have a minimum given back to them for that property doing well or not. They're still going to get some kind of return on the money. That's one way of structuring it. I'm not here to give you guys legal, but I'll tell you that most of the time, like, you got to check with your legal counsel. Most of the time, those are structured as partnerships, the way I'm describing it, as in we both go into an LLC or some other type of entity together, and we both kind of ride this deal together. That's one type of structure. The second kind of structure that we talk about is where someone can bring that money, but instead of it being a partnership, we structure it as a joint venture, right? A joint venture in my world means that they're not necessarily going to be my partner on this property, but we're going to have a project joint venture, meaning like my project needs 20 to 25% of the money I need total. I need that from somebody else. If they're willing to give that to me, I'll go run this renovation to completion and success and give a piece of the profit maybe, or a set return for that money. But it's not that we're partners. We're not legal partners on paper. We're not going into business together. You're just giving me money. I'm basically renting your money or using your money to go do this project and essentially give a return of something back to you when that project is done. It doesn't necessarily have to be that particular project is just one thing. It could be a joint venture for many projects. It depends how you structure that joint venture. It could be one individual deal, one individual property, one individual whatever, or it could be many, depending on how, again, you word it and structure it between both parties. It's effectively a contract that, let's say, Wendy would have with some other individual or some other group to say, we're going to do business together this way. You're going to give me capital so I can go do this. And that's how we're going to operate. It's like you have almost like a silent partner, but they're not on paper as a partner on the LLC. They're joint venturing for the sake of getting a return. And that's just how that works. Now, the third way that I know about is through like a different type of vehicle, like a debt instrument. So for example, like a note and or a mortgage, right? So you can give that 20%, 25% person basically a piece of paper saying, this is my agreement to pay. You're going to give me this much money and I'm going to go make money with that money. And I'm going to give you some set return on that money that's structured as a loan. That money you give me is protected as a loan so that I have an obligation to pay back. I'm going to time bound that. I'm going to honor that. I'm going to let them know if something happens that the project can't complete on time and I can't get you paid back. I'm going to communicate that. I'm going to make sure that I get a return back and that the money is given back in full plus a return. See, because on the first example, which is, and Joe, if you can monitor the waiting room, I got some people coming in. I just couldn't let somebody else in. So the other example is basically equity, right? Equity is going to be, you could ride with me, whether we do well or do bad or do great or do not so good. They're going to be favoring or not favoring the return back to the investor. The other part, which is a joint venture, might be that, or it could be limited at zero. Like there's no loss. It's just that you're not going to get a return. When you get into a loan, there's going to be a return to the lender. Like that's the whole point of making a loan. So that's of, 3 different ways you can look at how you can handle the 20 to 25% down. Now, all 3 of those ways require what? They require people that want to participate with you somehow, whether that be as a partner in a joint venture or as a private lender. That requires people that you, Wendy, and I have to connect with and communicate with and show the opportunity to, and understand that they may not always like my opportunity the way I like it. They might like some other kind of opportunity, or I have to see how I can match up their interests and their investment criteria with mine so that we can have a fair trade. So that requires people, which requires connections, which requires then ultimately conversations. And then you have to have those conversations over a period of time. And that's where we get into the KLT, which is know, like, and trust. And someone that knows, likes, and trusts you is different than the fund who's making a first position loan that really doesn't care about Doug or Wendy or anybody else. They're just saying, does this deal financially make sense? And is the risk profile good enough for us to make the loan this way? The difference is that an individual doesn't necessarily look at the risk profile as much. They look at the individuals. They look at the person who's running the project and saying, do I trust that this is going to be successful because they're involved? And does the project maybe make sense as well? But it's usually person first and then project second. That's the irony or the difference between, institutionalized versus personalized, if you would call it that. So that's just a couple of examples. Now, I'll give you one more to consider, and then we'll go to the next question if there is one. You could also raise all the money privately, as in the same individual that you'd go to for the 20 or 25%. You might say, well, who do I know that has enough to do 100%? 100% as either a loan or 100% as a partner. Okay. So that's where I can have an equity partner that brings all of the money. And then I eliminate my debt service and I basically come in and I just have a passive investor partner that basically splits the profit when the project is done, or splits the cash flow, or splits the upside of whatever that project is, whatever property does. That's one way. The alternative to that is to bring in 100% of the private money, but have it be structured as a loan. I'm giving you like 5 or 6 different ways here, not to confuse you, but just to know there's different options. That way with the loan is saying, like, my first couple of deals, the gentleman named Mike provided us 100% of the capital we needed to do our first few projects in like Newark and East Orange, New Jersey. And he provided 100% of the capital. But you know what? For that convenience, and it doesn't really matter because I'm not sharing his whole name and it's not a big deal, but it's just like what the market says. He gave, a loan for 100%, gave him, 2 percentage points plus 16% interest was like what his terms were to give that. And then we had to make sure that the project was successful. But he's like, hey, rent my money, pay me 16% a year plus 2 points and some fees and stuff like that. But it's super simple. You call up Mike, we need to use the capital to go do this project. Here's the details. Okay. I know you guys have a plan. I know the project. I've seen the property. I've driven by it. I understand. Here's the money. I'll send it via wire. We sign some paperwork and we close. That's a lot simpler than, hey, we need to get a loan application. We have to do an appraisal. We have to do all this other stuff. That is okay. That's more common in the institutionalized commercial lending space, and definitely residential. Like residential is way more complicated. You have debt to income, W-2, income verification, all that kind of stuff. And that's all what's called like a qualified, type of loan. It's not a non-QM or not one that you don't have to qualify for personally. The non-QM type, quote unquote, and the commercial loans are made to entities in our case, and they're made based upon the project's viability because the project is lent to as the entity buying this opportunity, not the individual who's buying it. It's more the entity, and it's a business loan. It's not a personal type of loan. So where does that leave us though, Wendy? It says, for you and for everybody else listening to me, is check in to the connections that you have of people that have capital that want to participate with you. If you don't know who those people are, you got to figure out who in your network already do you know that is willing to participate on a capital perspective with you on a property. Then you need to start having conversations with those people and have those conversations regularly, saying, hey, let's look at properties. What do you like? What do I like? Is there a match here? And then obviously you got to make sure you have the first position lenders, the people that, could give you most of the money. That's a very important part, but that's usually a little bit easier to find and get because it's, like I said, it's an institutionalized, like dollars and cents driven type of thing.
So if you're going to partnership with somebody, or split the profits, whatever, I mean, you've got to have a really high cash flow, right? Or else you're not going to be able to pay the interest because the other person's, they're just getting the money, right?
depending on what your strategy is, if you're talking about buy and hold, that basically you want to,
Yes.
buy a property for cash flow, and the property, the investor you're working with, the lender is going to basically look to participate on the cash flow, then the answer would be, to your question, probably yes, that you have to have cash flow for them to participate with. But there's also equity though. And there's different, like, investors, I could tell you, in the group of people we have listening to us right now talk about this, there's probably 10, 20, 30% of people that are like, I just want properties that cash flow. I don't care if I pay retail. I just want cash flow. And then there's another 10, 20, 30%, depending on who's here, that really don't care as much about cash flow. They care about getting a good deal, right? Then there's another 10, 20, 30% of people. They're like, the rest of the people like, hey, whatever looks like a good balance between cash flow and good deal, I'll consider looking at it because I just want to get into a deal. So there's different buckets of preference. That's what I'm saying. You got to think of like, who are you talking to? What are their preferences? What are your preferences? For example, if you have somebody who's doing like a 1031 exchange, and this is something that I go to a meeting every Friday about 1031 exchange stuff to learn and to connect the people that have opportunities and stuff. It's like someone who's got a 1031 exchange might be willing to pay more than somebody who's not doing a 1031 exchange because they're mitigating a tax burden to go buy a property now versus waiting a certain period of time when they can't do that. So that's a different motivation to pay a certain price. Now, they're not looking to overpay, but they might be incentivized to temporarily buy something that's going to be a stepping stone. Like I've even heard people say, and I haven't personally been a part of these deals, but there's been people that have said, use this property to get to the next one kind of thing. So they basically buy something on a 1031. Now they satisfy that. And then they 1031 from that property to the next one that they want to really do. So there's different strategies there, which is a whole nother conversation. I'm not the expert on 1031. I'm just telling you, I could bring somebody in, probably should, probably will. But the fact is, like, that's just an example where people's appetite for, properties are different based upon their goals.
What is it? 31.
1031 exchange is actually a US based thing. So you're in Canada. So basically what it means is that you can trade property, real property, without having the tax burden of the trade occur. So it's basically tax-free real estate investing.
That's nice.
But there's certain limitations and rules and regulations around that to satisfy the requirements. You have to use custodians and all different things to make sure that it's all, kosher, the way it's supposed to be, the way it has to be for the government to say there's no tax burden here. So yeah, that's one of our meetings that I attend, and some of our team members will start attending Friday mornings down here in Sarasota, actually just focused on just that.
Okay, that helps.
Yep. All right. So I know it's not everything, but at least a good start. Appreciate the question though. Great stuff. Thank you. All right. So everybody, you just heard from Wendy and you heard my answers. If you have any follow-on questions, Joe, can you tell me, is there anything in the chat? I don't see it updating unless people are just being really quiet. Maybe there is some comments. I can't tell. I'm going to refresh my page here. Maybe you could send me a...
We do have a comment, actually. Just Saradia, Central Florida, but my goal is to own rentals in Miami. So basically just giving us a heads up as to where they are and what they're doing. Josh Harms is on Southern Illinois. He's using OPM and bank money. Always looking for more OPM. Who is it? And they also use hard money.
Okay. Awesome. Appreciate you guys being here. I also see, I think inside the group, there's an event, it looks like, and it looks like we had a comment from Monica a couple hours ago. Good morning from Southern Oregon. So good morning, Monica. Good afternoon, actually, but you're probably still morning. And then Shu K. Leong says, live in New York City, no deals yet. So Shu, we'd love to help you out. Let us know more specifically what you're looking for. If you want to send, if anybody here is listening to me talk now or after this is posted and you're looking for deals, send us an email to wholesale. Wholesale is WHOLESALE, wholesale at jdlventures.com. Wholesale at jdlventures.com. That's our wholesale arm that is ramping up rapidly. We did 3 deals actually in the past week and a half in Florida. We have a bunch of stuff percolating in Florida and also in New Jersey. So definitely be in touch about wholesale deals. And what that is, if you don't know what a wholesale deal is, it's important to mention, I guess, too. Some of you may not know what that means. Basically means that we're buying a property at such a discount. We got an opportunity to buy something at such a discount that we can resell that opportunity at a slightly higher number, but still have profit in it for you. Now, the way we do that could be through an assignment of contract, which is a specialized legal structure. We could do that through taking title and then selling the property after we take title. Or we can come up with some other joint venture type of strategy where we actually go into the deal with you and help you through the process. And that's almost like kind of what we're doing with some of our coaching clients, right? From a coaching experience with the Growth Collective. If you're interested in that and want to know how we're taking clients from like no deals to their first deal in literally 90 days or less, in many cases, even faster than that. Some cases obviously takes a little bit longer, but we work with the client until that happens. Check out jointhegrowthcollective.com, jointhegrowthcollective.com. And you'll see some, a video about me talking in this office here. And you also see some testimonials from people that have closed deals and working on deals. And actually it's a bunch more that we have, like probably 4 or 5 more. We have a closing today. One of our clients, where we help them find the deal through a relationship. We also brought them the capital, and then they have the other capital partner, which was brought by somebody else. So lots of cool stuff, lots of connections. We're big on relationships. And so literally, like I tell my clients, just go like this and raise your hand. And that's a good start. And then we can kind of take it from there. Joe and Candace and a couple other folks are on our team helping, talk with folks that are looking to do stuff. Ron and Penny up in New Jersey. And I also see Sherry, who is part of our Growth Collective group as well here. So yeah, we have a lot of great momentum in the group and also just on the wholesale side. So it's not required to be a part of the group to get the wholesale deals. But I will tell you that the group members, like no BS, like they're getting the first shot to look at the deals and they're buying these deals because they make sense. So just a heads up, if you're looking for something, you wonder, why am I not getting deals sent to me? Somebody sent that email the other day. I saw on my list, sent an email saying, why didn't I get any deals lately? It's because frankly, the deals have already been sold to an investor in our group. So if you want that first shot, jointhegrowthcollective.com, you'll find out all about it right there. All right.
Douglas,
On
we
that
have
note-
another question.
Yeah, sure.
Akira Thompson, what qualifications do hard money lenders look for? Is it best to form an LLC?
So, okay, great. Thank you for the question, Kira. So yes, it's best to form an entity. Now, I can't advise you on the structure of that entity because I'm not your CPA or your attorney, but I will tell you most of the borrowers that we have use LLCs to do their deals. Most do not use, for example, trusts. We don't like trust, and most lenders don't like trusts because trusts are have too much anonymity. There's not enough. If something goes wrong, who do we go to collect capital from, or have to deal with when unfortunately things go wrong? It's just trusts are too vague. So you want to have something your lender is going to require you to have, probably an LLC or a corp. The lenders that I know and the ones that I've worked with and the ones I'm affiliated with do not lend to personal. So you can't take title personally and then get a loan from a hard money or private money lender. Even like individuals, right? And then this is a general thing. You have to check your state local laws, but also I think federally there's a law that says, like, there's certain mortgage laws that exist where you cannot make a loan to an individual, without being a licensed mortgage person if you're doing it for real estate and stuff like that. So you got to understand there's different laws that limit you and limit us on the lending side. Now, when it comes to the first part of our question, could you kind of rehash that first part? Because I missed that first part again.
Akira, what qualifications do hard money lenders look for?
Oh, qualifications. Okay. So there's going to be initially like a deal, right? The deal, it's asset-based lending, right? That's like the concept. So asset in this case is the real estate, the property. And so we're going to look at the property, understand what the plan and the project is for that property. And we're going to look at the numbers, right? If you want a great tool, I kind of talk about it almost every single week, I think, but runyournumbers.com, runyournumbers.com, sign up for free. It's a referral link to a system that we use and all of our clients use pretty much every day. We run our coaching group on that, essentially from the review of the deals. We make decisions off of that because it's very reliable. Runyournumbers.com. That's going to be a source of truth for the deal's viability, meaning if it's financially a good deal. And then from there, it's going to be, looking at the numbers and saying, what's the percentage of loan to cost and loan to ARV? Now, here's the interesting fact. Lenders will lend money on anything that has financial viability and that has a sponsor that either has a little bit of either experience or credit or a combination thereof. So, and you probably want to get specific. So it can be specific to some extent. However, there's loans available for people with no experience, but there's usually not a loan available, for example, for someone with no experience to do a new construction of like an apartment building, for example. There's going to be some, mitigation of risk there. So we want to look at the size and scale of the project and the experience level of the investor, and kind of marry those two things up and make sure we understand here's where, there's risk, and this borrower is going to be set up for success here because they have experience. Or if this person doesn't have experience, sometimes because of the growth collective, for example, we'll actually connect people that have experience, and some of them include me and my partners and people I work with that can actually bring the experience that you need to do a bigger deal. So that's another reason we should talk if you haven't talked with us about that yet. Now, on the flip side, the credit equation. So credit in the United States, I'm looking at Wendy up top again. This is United States based. We have Wendy and probably some other folks listening from different places. So it's different. We don't lend as of now, or any of our lenders lend through, hard money, private money in outside US. Like it's all US based. And it's even certain markets right now that are really the targets that the funds that we work with will actually operate in. But fact is that the credit side is going to be, usually low to mid 600s, depending on the loan type. So if you're looking to do a renovation loan compared to a new construction loan, compared to a DSCR loan, there might be different minimums. Because again, why is that? Well, because lenders look at risk differently. Lenders say that, a larger new construction project is more risky. So you have to be more credit worthy potentially to do a new construction project. You have to have more experience versus doing a quick cleanup renovation or in and out, as I say, or, just a very small renovation project versus a long-term, loan made to a lender or to a borrower that's looking to do a 30-year note on a property they're going to own as a rental, but maybe you don't have any experience doing rentals. So what happens then? I'm giving you guys a lot to think about. There's different things that move. So it's not just like what you see on the screen, like finite, everything's still. It kind of moves around, right? It kind of morphs. So basically the key levers are going to be your experience, your credit, and then ultimately your deal. Those few things compared against the loan type and to how much leverage, which leverage is loan to value or loan to cost. That's kind of how, in general, the lending landscape and commercial loans and hard money, private money operates. It says, based upon these key inputs, we're going to spit out an output of what you could do on this deal based upon your credit worthiness, your deal's financial viability, and your experience level, and also usually your liquidity as well. Liquidity has to do with how much capital you have available in your current bank account or that you can acquire through a private money relationship or have access to, as we say. So that's your inputs. And then you say, hey, lender, hey, Real Direct Lending and team and everybody you work with, what can we do here? You send us an email or you go to the website, realdirectlending.com. We take a look at that whole thing. And then we say, here's what we think is available for you in the marketplace. Let's get you directly connected to the fund that can actually fund this deal. And then we get paid for the fund for referring the business as a commercial loan broker, basically at that point. But it's paid by the fund. We're built into the deal. We're not paying extra for that. So with that being said, great question. Hope I answered it well enough. If you have any follow-on questions, by all means, put those into the comments as well.
We have another question for you, Douglas.
Sure.
This one's from Lisa Reyes. Afternoon, everyone. Newbie here. I have an off-market townhouse in Palm Bay, Florida. The owner is my friend. I have an idea how to deal with it. Any suggestions? She may have meant I don't have an idea, but maybe she does. She's currently in forbearance and has an HOA lien.
Okay. Before I answer that question, I want to see if maybe Lisa is in a position. Would Lisa be able to join us on Zoom if we gave her the link to join us to talk through this deal live?
Ah, okay.
And if so, you could just send a message to Joe and he'll get you the link to join the Zoom. So, okay, great. Thank you.
Ah, okay.
Oh, there's some echo there, but Lisa, let us know. You don't have the ability to. That's okay. No worries. Put you on the spot there a little bit. Well, if anybody wants that opportunity, I might throw it out there once in a while for these meetings. If you guys want to jump into a meeting with us like this, and if you're not sure of what it's like to be in the Zoom, and work with us on deals, then you should talk to Joe or someone from my office, candidates or myself. You might hear a little bit of dog barking in the back. I apologize. They're not behaving too well right now, so you have to forgive me for that. But hopefully it's not too loud. So Lisa, when it comes to your situation, first off, congratulations on being a newbie. It takes a lot of courage to say that too, that you're actually a newbie. So I give you a lot of credit for saying that and telling the group, but we have a lot of folks in this Facebook group and in this community that are newer and even reinventing themselves as investors. So you're in a great place and a place where people are looking to grow. So I appreciate you being here. As far as the off-market townhouse in Palm Bay, so no idea, you say, how to deal with it. So I'm not sure. What are you looking? I would want to know. That's why I kind of asked if you can come into the room, because it would kind of depend on what you're looking to do with this property. You're looking to potentially buy it as a rental, or you're looking to flip it, fix and flip it, or you're looking to help out your friend so she gets out of a situation. Or what's the goal we're trying to figure out here of getting to that place? Because depending upon what that is, and if you can comment as you're listening to me, you can comment. I can kind of see your comments, I think, coming in live. Then we could have a conversation sort of as I'm talking on video with your comments, which is kind of funny, but we could do that our best. So if you could tell me what the main goal is, you're not sure yet, that's fine. You know, if you look at it from the perspective of, okay, you said wholesale or rental. Okay. So let me give some context, because we're talking about funding, right? So that's okay. I could talk on wholesale, but wholesaling doesn't have that much to do with funding, but that's okay. Just to remind everybody, a wholesale flip is where you take this opportunity and you sell it to somebody else. And you do that through a legal process with like an assignment of contract, or you close on a property and then you sell the property. That's what I think of as a wholesale. You could buy wholesale, like when people think of Costco, for example, you go to Costco, you go to Sam's Club, you go to BJ's, you go wherever you go. What does that mean? What does that look like? That's something we experience if you go to those stores, or your family goes to buy groceries and stuff, is that they get stuff in bulk and then you buy it in bulk, right? So to buy at wholesale, typically you have to buy in bulk. So I want to talk about that for a second, because like when I go to the meetings I go to, when people present deals, which I go to a number of those kind of meetings. And if you guys aren't going to those kind of meetings, that'd be a good idea to maybe start thinking about, where can I meet with people that are trying to put together deals? And we could talk about that in private. I kind of gave you guys some insight to that earlier in the conversation, if you didn't hear me. So if I go to those meetings, I'm the guy raising my hand saying I'm interested, because I'm interested in anything that might be a deal until I realize it's not. And it's easy for me to say no after I realize it's not a deal, but it's harder for me to say yes after I've already said no. So I'm interested first, and then I determine if it's a yes. If it's yes, I keep moving forward. And if it's no, I just quickly say, no, thanks, I appreciate it, pass on the deal. So that's kind of how wholesaling works. I say like, I'm leaning yes on everything that I see until I realize it's not a good deal. That's a very important nugget that you guys can use, but just don't use that inappropriately, and don't become the person that leads people on too far to think, oh, well, he's going to do it or she's going to do it. And then you change your mind. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm talking about like, hey, I'm interested, send me more information. I would love to find a way to make this work for me and for you as a wholesaler or as an agent, or whoever's sending you the deal, or a seller you're dealing with directly. But that's kind of the gist of wholesaling, is that I'm going to look at a lot of stuff, and I'm going to say maybe to a lot of stuff, and I'm hopefully going to say yes to a lot more as well. And then I have to have an outlet to give those opportunities to other people that can take them one by one. And I can make a spread, a difference between my contract price to what I sell that deal for, that contract I sell somebody else. That's the gist of wholesale. So when you think of your friend and you think of the wholesale model, like, it's really just a way to monetize without taking on the full responsibility of the rental, for example. And so I would say, let's first think like a buyer, and I'm going to layer in some funding discussion here, everybody. So if I'm looking at this deal, my question for Lisa would be like, what's this property worth when it's all fixed up? That's the first question I ask. And that's what your lender is going to ask you too. What's this property worth when it's all fixed up? And if you don't know the answer yet, that's okay. That's where you go find the answer. You go ask a real estate agent, you go talk to somebody. So that's the first question. The second question is going to be, what needs to be done to get this property all fixed up? Even if it's going to be a rental, what do I have to do to get it to be worth what it can ultimately be worth at its highest and best use? And a lender wants to know that too, because that's going to be built into what's called the scope of work and the budget for the project of the renovation that you might do. Because when you do like a BRRRR, a buy, renovate, rent, refi, which is a whole strategy. We've done videos and trainings on that. If you guys want some help there, just let us know. BRRRR. If you want to get into the BRRRR strategies, type the letters BRRR as a comment, and my team or myself will reach out to you with some information about how the BRRRR process works. Or if you want to hop on a call, go to that jointhegrowthcollective.com and we'll set up a conversation. You just pick a time that works for you, and we'll talk about the BRRRR process and how it's going to help you maximize your value add and also get your rental income. So again, BRRRR, if you want help there. But in this case, Lisa, for you, I would say, yeah, I appreciate that, Akira. So it's actually BRRR. It does sound like BURR though. It's kind of funny. You're right. And you're welcome for explaining. I see a comment in there. So it's actually buy, renovate, rent, refi, right? buy, renovate, rent, refi. So that's a very common strategy that people are using to get a bump in value, but also get a great rental property. So I'm saying all that because when I think of a rental, right, and I'm thinking about getting a good deal, quote unquote, I need to think of like, how can I add value? How can I do that renovation or improve this property so that I can increase the value and ultimately profit from that increase, as in get some of the equity and get some of that new value established so that when I go rent it out, right, I'm going to get the market rent or better than a market rent. I'm going to get above market rent, and I'm going to be able to refinance it because my lender, when I refinance it, says, wow, this property looks beautiful. The appraisal comes in high, and I can go refinance with stabilized loans, or a loan that's stabilized, right? It means that the property is done. It's been put at its highest and best use. And now this tenant's in place, and now you've got a property that's set it, and you just like manage it, and you set it, not really set it and forget it, but kind of, you're done with the majority of the hard work, so to speak, right? It's done. Now you're going to go manage this rental property. But lenders like that, they'll give you more leverage, if you would, on the actual loan when they see that that property is stabilized. Okay. Yeah. And repeat, you could do that like Violet says, and like Joe just said. So yes, you could repeat that process, right? And you can repeat it over and over again. Now, with that being said, that's the one strategy you can look at with your friends. So again, it's what's it worth when it's done? What's it going to take to get it to be done? And then what can I buy it for? You're going to do the math. And if you use runyournumbers.com, we're happy to do this with you. If you're in our growth collective, base of clients, we do this almost every day. I just came out of a call right before this with one of our clients in Florida. He's looking at stuff in Fort Lauderdale and also Jacksonville, and he's looking at multiple deals in other parts of the country as well to either wholesale or buy, renovate, rent, refi, or even Airbnb it. So basically we look at the numbers together and we figure out, is there enough room here for this deal to make sense? And how can you cash flow on this property as well? If it's possible to cash flow, how much can you cash flow? The other side of rental could be what I would say, just to give the other spectrum, is like a turnkey rental. So you might say, well, Doug, this particular property is already like in perfect condition, and it's basically been kept pristine and it's immaculate and there's nothing to do. So there's no work to be done. What do we do then? Well, then we're looking at just the rental analysis to say, how much of a discount, if any, can I buy this for? Is there any equity that I can get, intrinsic equity in the front end? And then can I also look at cash flow? And then can I see how much cash flow if I get, let's say, a DSCR loan? So that's where the funding comes up. See, the DSCR loan, that's going to be a 30-year, fixed type of loan, just like a regular residential, except it's commercial lending, right? It's commercial lending made to an LLC or an entity for the purpose of investing in real estate on residential assets and commercial assets. So we could do, 50, 100 unit type deals. I mean, within reason. I don't want to say we do them every day because we don't, but between 1 to like 30 is like a bucket that we do a lot of, right? And that's clients that come to us and say, hey, we need capital. We have the sources of capital for all that. So basically what it comes down to is you're going to look at that turnkey rental as being an income stream. And so now we look at the word or the letters DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. The debt service coverage ratio measures, and this is where it's a little technical, everybody. That's why it kind of helps to have like a live, if we can, talk in person or on video and also look at stuff together and kind of break it down together. And if you don't have a lot of experience, it's a little more difficult, but we have resources, like I said, that we can share with you all. So again, put a comment if this is something you're interested in. The BRR comment, BRRR, or just rental, right? Just rental. We coach a lot of our clients on rental property investing. So basically with the DSCR, it's comparing what's called the net operating income, the NOI, right? Nancy, Oscar, Igloo. I think those are the right ways. I don't know. Don't call me on that. I'm not like a airplane pilot, but I know I saw a comment from Joe, and I guess I thought airplanes because my wife's, they might be listening now, actually. So I'm going to connect with him. A gentleman that my wife used to work with in private aviation actually might be collaborating in some capacity, hopefully in the near future with us. And so, they used to have like another language of how they called like letters and stuff like that, tango this and indigo that and all that stuff. So anyways, NOI, right? NOI divided by my payment, my principal and interest payment, right? We're not taking away the taxes and insurance because NOI already takes the taxes and insurance out. So I'm going to look at that. I'm going to compare my NOI divided by my actual principal and interest, and I'm going to come up with that number that represents, can I cover my payment every month, basically? That's what debt service coverage says. So now if your friend's property doesn't have enough income potential to where it can cover the debt every month, then it's not going to work for the loan. And that becomes a problem. Now you have to bring more money, raise more money, or figure out another solution. So we kind of got to get to numbers. That's where we can figure out like what this looks like. And if you want to go, like I said, to runyournumbers.com, kind of create a sheet with that and then share it to us and have a conversation with someone from my office, go to jointhegrowthcollective.com. It would be awesome. Hey, I got my sheet here to show you the analysis, and I want to talk about this and see if it's a good fit to have you guys help me with this one. In fact, one of our most recent clients we're working with right now, she's in the northwestern part of the United States, and she has a property that looks like a great opportunity. It's just challenging with the funding, but she came to me through another relationship, and she basically came in to say, I had this deal, and I'm not sure if I can put it together. Do you have the ability to help me figure out how to do this? And I said, well, yeah, just like, let's work together. We'll start with the deal. So if you have a deal in your hand that you're trying to figure out, that's a great reason to say, hey, here's my starting point, and let's get into the coaching group and let's work together in the coaching group on that deal. Let's get you a success right out the gate. That would be pretty amazing as well. And I think I see Jenny and Glenn, they're up top. They kind of had the same circumstance. They already were working on a project. They're doing some amazing things buying their next property, hopefully closing today, I think, and then hopefully more to come. So lots of momentum, right? But it starts with the knowledge and the awareness, and then ultimately getting into the understanding by doing. So that was Lisa, I think, that asked the question. Lisa, we'd love the opportunity to speak with you. Again, jointhegrowthcollective.com. If you're looking to figure out how to help your friend on that one or anything else you got on the table, we'd love to look at that with you. All right. Chris says, do you notice more cash payments? I see that. Is that the only, I see some questions coming from Chris, by the way, but is that anything else coming in on your side, Joe? Do you see anything before Chris? I don't think so. I think Chris is the next.
Chris, that was the last one.
Okay. So Chris, let's see here. Chris, do you notice more cash payments? Do clients have similar gear? Select ones, I'm not sure what you mean by similar gear. So give me some context. And peanuts, what that means. All right. I mean, I'll answer the question that I understand, which is cash payments. So, you never know. I mean, I'm not making fun of Chris. I'm just saying, man, nothing but love. I don't really know you unless I might know you. I can't really see your picture, but you might be using like your phone or typing something on fast on the computer. And I don't really understand what you mean by that. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. I'm not going to try to guess. I'll say, do you notice more cash payments? There was an article shared in the group I was in this morning about how in the United States of America, there's like 30% cash buying activity across all real estate transactions across the country. 30% is like a third almost. That's a pretty good amount of all cash. So yes, there's a lot of cash buying. And actually in this part of Florida, there's over 50% historically month over month for the past many, many months. And in Florida in general, it's just known to be a cash buying state. So yes, the answer is yes, there's more cash payments. And then let us know about your other comments and questions there if there is any. Lisa says, awesome, very informative. Like you're helping this one. Can we do it today? Possibly. I would say if you could please send a message to me and also Joe, or Joe can reach out to you and create a group chat. We could talk it through. I would love to help you here. And I'd also love to see if you're a good fit and we were a good fit for you for the Growth Collective. So we'd love to look at that together and see if we can kind of take it to the next level, All right. Let's see. We got some more comments. I can't tell. I got 11 people on live plus our Zoom folk. I got time for maybe one more question today, and then we can kind of take it from there. How about any Growth Collective members that want to bring a question if you want? If not, no pressure. If you guys have a funding question or something related to putting a deal together using capital. Otherwise, I'll look at the Zoom or the Facebook, I should say. Are you seeing anything else?
No, I do not. Not as of right now.
Okay. Well, I'll give you guys just one thing to consider. So in the meeting this morning, and it's something that maybe this is a takeaway, there was a gentleman that presented an opportunity. He buys a lot of land in Florida. Okay. And he presented an opportunity. So to give you an example of how we can fund things creatively, he's willing to do what's called contract for deed. Right. So now I'm not that familiar, but I'm becoming more familiar. So I wrote down the notes here. On his land, he's got duplex lots in this part of Florida. He's willing to do 10% down for the duplex lots and basically hold the deed for up to 3 years. Right? I'm not telling you, I'm not representing this guy. I'm just telling you a story, right? But we could talk about maybe a joint venture if you guys are interested or whatever. I'm just letting you know this is where it's at. I'm looking at this for myself and my clients, and obviously anyone who's listening to me can participate somehow. It's in an area that has had a lot of growth, and it's one of the fastest growing areas in the country, actually, this particular area. And it's also for lots that are zoned for duplex. He's got like a dozen and a half of these lots or so. Okay. They need infrastructure, which we've done. We've put in septic systems, we've done wells, we've done all kinds of stuff as a company. So our development company can handle that part of it. We can handle all the construction. We could bring all the money practically, except for maybe some of the money for the starting of the project. We'd love to raise that capital. But again, they're just talking about this deal. So you understand, he's willing to hold the contract for deed, that structure, 10% down, and he's willing to do a 10% payment, 10% per year payment on the money that we're basically having him finance for us of the purchase of the land. So this came out of a call this morning, or a meeting this morning. And I'm looking at it that he's looking for somewhere in the mid 500s for the whole package. And so I'm saying to myself, well, what if I bought all of it and we built it out and we did build to rent in this part of Florida? This is literally, no joke, you guys can look it up, the fastest growing part of Florida, like in part of probably the whole country. It's like number 6 in the whole country, this particular city that I'm not going to share yet because I want to talk privately with you guys. If you're interested in learning more about this deal and how we could possibly collaborate, because we're talking about relatively small numbers, right? Relatively small numbers and a creative structure available, then just send me a DM that says land, or put a comment that says land, and let's have a conversation, because I believe that we can probably get between 10 to 20% equity as far as the growth of building these things out, just the equity alone because of the cost of construction and what we can do from the construction standpoint, not to mention the cash flow, and it's creatively structured in the sense that we don't have to bring all the money. So it's really a sweet deal if you ask me, potentially, right? We're looking at the details on it. And I wrote down another one here. Someone else told me about up and coming in beach. I'll just leave it very generic because I don't want to get anybody in trouble here. As I said, just, they were like, hey, I'm thinking about this, or somebody I know might be doing it. A multifamily on the beach area, I'll say. It's not on the water. I think it might be backing up to some water, but a multifamily deal in the beach part of this part of Florida. And I don't know the number yet because I'm still working on the details, right? But this is something where it could be Airbnb'd, right? And it's multifamily Airbnb. So I have a client right now who's on Cocoa Beach. His name's Tom. I'm going to talk to Tom about it because he's literally done this on his property before. I want to get some insight. But this one here, we're talking about basically in the other coast of Florida, other west coast of Florida, basically an opportunity to buy this thing and get it Airbnb and probably make a bunch of cash flow on a monthly basis. But I'm getting the details. But these are the kind of deals we're getting access. I'm trying to look. Another one I have coming up, just a heads up, and this is very generic, but I have my Growth Collective members, so I want you guys to know about this as well. A 20-unit deal in Tampa that's off market right now, I'm told, and it looks like it's pretty aggressively priced for basically per unit. I think it was a few $1,000,000 for 20 units, which isn't too bad, depending upon the cash flow. And I look at the details, and then let's see. I have another deal that I'm working on right now, but it's not ready yet. There's a deal I'm possibly going to be buying in the central part of Texas, outside of 2 major metro markets that I'm looking at. So again, Growth Collective members, you guys get first shot at that. I kind of talked about that in the group. I also have an analysis now that's available that I can share with you guys. And then after you guys say, hey, I'm not as interested, or maybe somebody is interested, then it's a done deal. But anyone else that's hearing me who's interested, you can just put Texas. If you're interested in Texas, we could talk about Texas. And then I'll obviously talk to my team and my Growth Collective members first. And then let's see. I know I have something else, but I can't remember what it was. There was something else I wrote down. Well, there's a few different things in the works, but that's kind of a good start. Oh, no, a condo. We have a condo, which also is available to the Growth Collective members first. And then second to that would be the group here that's listening to this live. So there's a condo in Sarasota, Florida that we have under contract that we're looking to wholesale. We are the contract holders. We're selling our contract. So I haven't yet purchased the property. The total price of the contract by the property and our fee or assignment fee will be $265, unless we get something better than that, right? Because there could be a chance we get something better than that. The condo association is in the low 400s, and the cash flow, the benefit here is that it's pretty close to the beach. It's about 10, 12 minutes away from the beach. It's not right on the water, but actually it's got a pool. It's a nice condo association, and there's actually a lot of owners there that do short-term rental. And I believe the minimum is 30 days, but I'm being told that there's some people that are finding ways to make that work where it's even less than that and do it legally. I'm not trying to break any laws, but do it in the confines of what's available. TBD, like I said, there's some due diligence, but I'm sharing it just because I feel like it's the right thing to do with this group, with my Growth Collective members that are hearing me, and also with the folks in the real estate investing mastermind group. If you're interested in the condo, I mean, it's not really a word, it's just a couple words, Sarasota condo, right? Just send me a message, Sarasota condo. And that would be good to know that you're interested in that. And that is a contract that we have on a property. We've got a couple of deals in the works right now in Tampa, new ones. We have a pretty decent sized project. Let me just get that detail real quick. We got this morning. Guys, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of good stuff. Thank God it's just a lot of momentum. So you guys are getting the benefit too. Let me see here. I don't have the full details of the numbers, but let me see the gist. This one's, the ARV is looking like 2.35 based on analysis that was done by my team. And it's got, this particular project has over $500,000 in net profit in it. And this is I don't know how many months, let me see. Capital, most of the capital is already available on this one as well. So we're looking for folks that want to jump in with us and do a JV potentially on this one. Let's see. Yeah, about $500,000. Looking at the analysis right now. Timeline is 12 months. So call it 12 to 15 months. I always like to give it a little bit of a cushion. I've had the experience, unfortunately, of having projects take longer than anticipated, just to be real. So some of you know that from talking to me enough. And it's just life, right? Things happen. Things don't move as fast. Contractors don't show up. People don't do what they're supposed to do fast enough. And then people just makes everything take longer. So that's another one in Tampa. That's it's a more of a higher end flip. It's a nice home in a really good section of Tampa, actually. So, and then we have more stuff in the works. I mean, there's just a lot of things. So if you guys have any interest, that's a Tampa deal. If you're interested in Tampa flip, you can just send Tampa flip and let us know about that. And then, man, we have a lot of deal flow, which is a beautiful thing. And it's a kudos to Ron. Ron works with JDL. It's a kudos to my partner, Phil. It's a kudos to the team we have at JDL Ventures and also the Growth Collective as well for bringing opportunities to us. So thank you guys. And thank you to the Real Estate Investing Mastermind for being here. If you guys want to get more information, again, about the private coaching and mastermind group, join the growthcollective.com. Deals are happening almost every week at this point, right? We have another one coming to market. I almost forgot. A Venice property, right? It's a opportunity to get into something that has immediate cash flow, but really is not optimized for its fullest extent of what could be the cash flow. It's a seasonal rental. I'm going to be putting it on the market for just under $500,000. If you guys want to get it before it goes to market, we close on it this week. Okay. I'm going to be listing it for right around 500. I'm willing to work out a deal if we can move fast. If you guys are interested, this is 5 minutes to the beach and 6 minutes to this place called Sharky's on the Pier, which is a really well-known restaurant right on the water in Venice Island, Florida. It's a beautiful location as far as being close to this thing called Legacy Trail. It's right by that beach area. Like I said, I heard someone say in a meeting today, I don't know, because I'm not that familiar with the area, but I know it's worth, what it's worth. Someone said that the land value for some of these properties in that particular section is over $400,000. And this has a home that's about 1,400 square feet with 3 beds, 2 baths, fully furnished with tenants in place, and a backyard that's fenced and a front yard that has a driveway that can all be spruced up a bit if you want to. If you're looking for like a second home, I own that property. My company and my partner own that property. So we can sell that. We're planning on listing it on the market. If you're looking, that's again, the Growth Collective gets a first shot. I'm telling you guys though, we've talked about it in private before, so it may not make sense for everybody depending upon what you're looking to do. It may make sense if you want a seasonal rental. It may make sense if you want a second home in Florida. It may make sense if you just want something that you could park capital to and you need to do a 1031 or you do some other kind of deal. That's another property that's available to you all. So, and let's not forget, we have a new construction townhome that's being built and it's almost done being built. And that's in Sarasota and that's coming up soon. So that's another one that's on the table for a TBD conversation. If you're interested in talking about that one, we're buying it for under $300,000 and we want to be keeping that as a rental is the plan. Some folks have asked me if I'd be willing to wholesale it or sell it. I might be willing to. I don't know yet because honestly, there's other things that are being presented to me, and I feel like a lot of things are happening, which is a beautiful thing. It just depends on what's going on. But if somebody presents the right numbers and the right offer, I'm open-minded. So let's have a conversation. If you're interested in a Sarasota townhome, then Sarasota townhome. That's what I got for today. It's a lot. I know it wasn't just a funding discussion. I felt like it was the right thing to do is not just keep it quiet and not share the opportunities. I wanted to give you guys the opportunity. And again, the Growth Collective, part of your benefit is doing what you're doing in the Zoom, which I appreciate. A couple of you said certain things. Let me know you're interested first. And then obviously the Real Estate Investing Mastermind group is there right behind you. if you're not in one of those groups and somehow you hear this message, you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to jointhegrowthcollective.com and go to, if you're not in the real estate investing mastermind, I know most of you probably are if you're listening to this right now, you go to the reimastermind.com, the reimastermind.com, share it with a friend, someone you care about that you want to help do real estate deals, share that with them. And then they're going to be able to see the things you're seeing every Friday here and talk with us and just kind of put deals together. So with that being said, God bless you guys. I appreciate you all. I'm so honored and excited. I'm excited for the weekend. I'm excited for what's ahead. And I'll speak to you really soon. And until then, have a great rest of your day and an awesome weekend. Bye-bye.